Welcome back to the channel. I'm your host Mello, joined by It's Meek, Baara B, and Kamui. Together we are Peak Fiction, and this is our Boruto 2 Blue Vortex Chapter 10 review. If you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe and rate, and hit that bell icon for notifications. We're gonna kick things off with a recap and then get into some analysis. So without any further ado, let's get started. Chapter 10 picks up where Chapter 9 left off, with new Inishikacho and Himawari escaping the Shinju. Konohamaru arrives on the scene accompanied by 3 other shinobi, and one of them may look familiar to you. Next, we cut over to a scene where Shikamaru is telling Kawaki to leave Boruto alone as he may be an asset. He also informs Kawaki about Himawari's situation, that she's a target of the Shinju. After finding out about Himawari, Kawaki lashes out at Shikamaru and rushes to her aid. Next we cut over to Shikamaru asking Boruto if he was okay, and Boruto said he was, he simply needed a minute. Following this, Jura goes after Himawari as Hidari blocks Konohamaru's pursuit. Just then, Sarada and Sumire arrives. Hidari attempts to blindside Sarada, however she manages to dodge the attack and takes him down. As she stands there looking down on her enemy, she wonders what's going on. Why does he know her father's technique? Next, we cut over to a conversation between Himawari and Kurama. Essentially, Kurama explains how he returned. It was through the conventional rebirth mechanics that all Biju possess. Now, Kurama does speculate as to why he was reborn inside of Himawari Uzumaki, but we'll save that for the analysis. While in pursuit of new Inishikacho and Himawari, Jura has had enough and launches an attack that sends our heroes crashing to the ground. Now luckily Chocho manages to save them, but unfortunately Jura lands and now it's time to square up. Himawari asks Kurama for help, but he tells her to not be a spoiled brat, that she needs to do it on her own. Himawari launches an attack at Jura, however he manages to stop the attack by grabbing her ankle, twisting it and breaking her leg. After seeing Himawari writhing in pain, Inojin launches an attack, however Jura uses wood style to dispel the jutsu. Then Jura uses his wood style to ensnare Himawari as he explains what devour actually means, but again we'll save that explanation for the analysis portion of this video. However, Inojin is not going to give up that easily. He pulls out a kunai and launches an attack again at Jura. However, Jura quickly takes Inojin down with a knee to his abdomen. As Inojin is on the ground, writhing in pain, begging for him to stop, to leave Himawari alone, he reaches out and touches Jura's foot. And as this occurs, Jura activates his wood-style technique that completely stabs right through the abdomen of Inojin. Mashikadai, Himawari, and Chocho look on in horror, with tears in her eyes. Himawari demands that Jura stops right now. She snaps and awakens the power of Kurama. Personally, I give this one a 10 out of 10. I can't wait to hear the ratings from Meek, Baara, and Kamui. And if you guys want to find out what happens in the next chapter, make sure you tune in to Peak Fiction next month. With that being said, the chapter recap is done. Let's move on to analysis. Meek, handing it off to you, bro.
At the start of this chapter, we see Jura and Hidari split up, where Jura goes to chase after Himawari and Team 10. Meanwhile, Hidari goes to confront the incoming Konoha ninja. Kawaki goes after Himawari after Shikamaru informs him that Boruto does not need to be pursued anymore, where Himawari could be in danger. We then cut to Boruto where he's trying to recover from his karma seal appearing from the last chapter. Shikamaru asks him what happened when Boruto told him that he needs a break from a minor issue, which is obviously from his karma seal appearing. And with Boruto waiting for his karma to disappear, this will allow other characters such as Sarada and Himawari to have a more important role in the story now that we are into Blue Vortex. Jura leaves Konoha to chase after Himawari, where Konohamaru goes to confront Hidari for being in the village. Hidari tries to question what business they have with him, but Konohamaru realizes that one of the 2 trespassers does match Sasuke's chakra. Konohamaru asks the sensor unit to confirm Hidari's chakra, which does match with Sasuke. Hidari asks one more time when suddenly Sarada walks onto them to help out Konohamaru, With the goal in mind of devouring Sawada, Hidari immediately tries to go for the kill by teleporting behind Sawada and using Chidori to attack her. However, Sawada reads this attack with the Sharingan by weaving the Chidori and doing the Chidori back, attacking Hidari on the side, making him fall to the ground. Sawada realizes that Hidari used the Chidori, which only she and Sasuke can use this jutsu, at least from what she knows of. Sawada is confused on Hidari's identity, where this will set up the battle between Sawada and Hidari, which is Sawada's first major solo battle in not just True Blue Vortex, but in all of the Boruto manga so far. I think it's great that Sawada is finally getting this treatment, since she is one of the main characters of this series after all, and deservedly so. She has the right to show off her new abilities that she may have learned in a 3-year time skip between part 1 and until now. She already unlocked her Mangekyo Sharingan in part 1, and I think it's fair to expect new abilities and powers from it, since she's clearly gotten stronger with the reaction speed by being able to dodge Hidari's Chidori. And from here on out, my guy Baara will cover Himawari and the conversation with Kurama.
Alright, one of the first things that you notice when you do see the scene with Himawari and Karma is essentially Karma's side. If you guys look at it real closely, in the first frame, you basically see Himawari looking down at Karma. Now, this right here is an odd sight. I believe this is probably like the first time that Karma is actually being looked down upon. And I understand, hey, this is baby Karma. What else do you expect? But if you guys do recall, the first time that we did see a younger Karma, he was in the same frame as Hagoromo. And even in that frame, he made Hagoromo, a full-grown adult, look like an ant. So in this particular frame right here, where Himawari is actually looking down at Karma, it just shows you how infantile this version of Karma actually is. Now, the first bit of dialogue, in my personal opinion, was just them basically establishing the Jinchuriki and Vessel relationship. In this particular scene, it looks very similar to what we did see when Naruto was speaking to Karma in his consciousness. And in fact, Karma himself in this particular scene with Himawari also mentions consciousness. So in my personal opinion, it's not fully confirmed that this is a Jinchuriki Vessel type relationship, but it really looks like it. Karma says specifically, what you see is your conscious made visible. We are currently exchanging words mind to mind. And then Karma then goes on to say, because you and I are a single body and soul. So all the makings for Jinchuriki is essentially right here. And the next part of the dialogue essentially goes into Karma's revival. Now, Karma says, the death is not eternal for us Biju. Even if our soul perishes over time, a kernel of us will sprout somewhere, and we will manage to return to life. So I was kind of one of those guys that thought that Karma was going to be dead permanently, but this came for a specific reason. Of course, we understood the mechanic of tailed beasts actually coming back to life. For example, the three tails essentially died a couple of times, or we think a couple of times. Some of the information on three tails isn't necessarily completely confirmed as of yet, but we know for a fact that the three tails died when Rin asked Kakashi to essentially kill her. The three tails all of a sudden reappeared and was actually sealed into the fourth Mizukage, Yagoda. By the way, RIP my guy Kagoda. But the key difference for Karma in my mind is that his death was extremely different, and Karma even went out of his way to explain how his death wasn't necessarily the same. Tailed beasts in itself, they are chakra, and chakra in itself can't really die. If chakra just runs low, the chakra just builds on itself until it becomes whole again. However, with the Baryon mode, it uses up all the chakra until there is no more. So we essentially thought that Karma used up all of his own chakra, thus no other chakra can actually build up that chakra to actually create Karma. It turns out we were completely wrong. Karma then says no one knows how long it will take or where it might sprout, much less that it would be inside his daughter and this soon. So even with Karma, there's an air of uncertainty. He pretty much says the universe is full of mysteries. You may have been born inheriting a sliver of my chakra, or this was your destiny brought into being by Uzumaki and Hyuga blood that flows within you. So again, Karma is pretty much having his own hypothesis. One of the things that the Boruto writers are very good at this particular point is not necessarily writing themselves into a plot hole or writing themselves into a proverbial hole, put it like that. In my personal opinion, this right here is exactly that. They probably want to change a couple of this stuff up in the future, and not only that, it could also be the fact that they are trying to release information bit by bit. They don't necessarily want us to know the full process of a tail beast coming back to life for a couple of reasons. Right now, one of the main villains that we are fighting is the Ten Tails. Jura right now is pretty much the Ten Tails. In fact, in this actual chapter, Karma called him the Ten Tails. Now, one of the interesting things that Karma did actually say to Himawari was that Himawari has a higher affinity to his chakra than all of his other predecessors, and Himawari in Karma's mode is likely going to be significantly stronger than what we did see of Naruto. Now, the first time that Himawari did actually try to use Karma, it didn't work at all. Jura pretty much snatched her out of the air, broke her leg, and threw her to the ground. Now, that isn't necessarily that Surprising if you guys do recall, back in the day when Naruto himself tried to use Karma, he really couldn't. And I remember one time, one of the first times that he did actually use it was with Jiraiya. Jiraiya pretty much threw him down an alley and he almost died, and it was more of like a necessity type of thing where he needed to use Karma. And I believe this right here goes directly into the conversation that Karma and Himawari did actually have. The only person who could do something about this is you, and it should be a no-brainer. Whether you use or quash my powers, it's all up to you. He then says, first off, you need to believe in yourself. So it looks like the first time she tried to attack Jura, she did not believe in herself. But again, completely understandable, because even with Naruto, he needed an external factor to actually push him over the edge to actually reach for that Karma chakra. Inojin tries to help, and this right here is essentially what triggers Himawari to actually reach for the Karma chakra. Jura, as far as Himawari knows, kills Inojin. Now hopefully it doesn't necessarily have to be this extreme for Himawari to actually reach for the Karma chakra, but this was the first trigger. This right here looks eerily similar to the first form that Naruto did actually have when Karma was actually taking over. Naruto also had the crazy hair, Naruto also had the red eyes, Naruto also had the thicker whiskers, and I believe this right here is exactly what Himawari is going through. So these are the first transformations of Himawari, and this is just crazy because this is just going to set Himawari's base. And I don't even expect her to actually be that strong. I thought that if Himawari would have a turnout moment, it would simply be to escape. It wouldn't necessarily be to actually beat Jura. So in my personal opinion, any sort of feats would be impressive because this would be the first stage. So in the future, when she does have the actual NINETAILS cloak come on her, she's going to be significantly stronger than this. Not only that, if they do hypothetically get a KCM1, she's going to be significantly stronger than this. If she could stack a Sage mode on top of that KCM1, she's going to be significantly stronger. Like, so it just builds and builds and builds on the foundation that she's probably going to lay in the next chapter. Another key thing that I think is probably going to be like a staple for Himawari as well, she has like 9 clumps of hair, which I'm pretty sure is going to represent the 9-tailed fox as well. So just very cool details that the Boruto writers are pretty much adding, and I actually like it. I like this stuff a lot. This is where Karma confirms, hey, you've totally snapped. Well then, shall we run amok?